Hi everyone, this is the Smart Water Fund website which I built in 2011. Smart Water Fund is an independent organisation that has funding from the Victorian Government and all of the Victorian water utilities, and they basically get all the money in from those guys, and then anyone, whether it be government, council, private businesses, whoever, if they've got an idea for a way to save water, they can apply for a grant to put the money into researching and coming up with those ideas. That when they came to me, they had an old website. It was built in, I think, Microsoft SharePoint. I can't remember, but it was extremely ugly. The projects were all categorized by date. There was not really, I don't think there was a search function. It was basically not a user-friendly site at all. And that was for the end user, but also for the administrators of the site. They didn't know how to upload content, and when they did, they seemed to make a mess of it with regards to making it look nice. So we went through a major overhaul of what they wanted their website to do. Originally they thought they would split the knowledge hub, which is the area where all the projects are actually kept, away from the rest of the information about what the Smart Water Fund is, but I convinced them to keep it all together because obviously it's part and parcel. But the key thing for this site is that we decided to use K2 simply because we wanted to have nested categories of content, and we also wanted to make use of the K2's extra fields areas for all the information that would go under each project. So the key thing that we had to start with the client was really understanding how to categorize their content. They had when I think we started, about 16 different categories, and I'm like, that's just over the top, you know. It's very hard for the end user to really scan through 16 different categories. So we finally dwindled down to 8. And it took a lot of time. It was a big learning experience for me in regards to content categorization and looking at how the end user was going to look at that content, how they were going to search for it, and also simple things like having each of those categories fit into the right-hand module. Most of the ones they came up with at the beginning had too many words and they just didn't look nice. So actually working with the client in naming their categories was a very important process. So looking at the different categories, there's 8 obviously we got down to, and each of them had a number of subcategories within it. The key thing obviously for using K2, I found the layouts of the pages were really nice for K2, and it was a simple way to, you know, there were only a few clicks to do to actually make the layouts look as the client wanted. But also these areas down here, what categories the articles are published in, what they're tagged under. There's obviously a lot more information you can put in these blog layouts, but they were quite nice for, you know, simply putting the site up and getting it running. I'll just go into one actual article just to show how it's laid out. So one of the things I had to work closely with the client on was just putting their content into consistent layouts. I find a lot of the projects they had in the original site, you know, the words here, challenge, project, and outcome, those words were not used consistently across all their different projects. So when a user was scanning a whole lot of projects on a site, they didn't really know what they were reading each time. So helping the actual client develop, I guess, their standards for how they were going to write projects was a really key part of this job as well. Project info, so this is what we used extra fields in K2 for. Took a while to decide what they wanted. They've added a few new ones in since going live as well, such as project status and project completion date. The key things for using this project info was they also wanted to be able to search via those extra fields, and that's what this project search filter here is. That's using a Joomla JAK2 search filter. I did have a few issues with it, but generally it provides the service that they wanted, which was obviously to be able to search specific things, you know, mainly the type of recipient. So, you know, if there's a school who are looking at saving water in some way, they can come to this site and look up what other schools have done. So, the other good thing about, you know, the K2 is the downloading of attachments, which is easy for the user, you know, the client to be able to just upload those attachments in different formats, Excel, PDF, whatever. I think the other key things on this site that we've used, related articles, we didn't actually use K2 module, I think it's DM. Yeah, DM, K2 related articles. remember why, but there's obviously a reason. Looks nicer. Obviously it was easier. We also use DM for providing all the articles listed on this, and we use it as, since going live they decided they wanted list all projects down there as well, which once again I think DM list all articles, so every single article within the Knowledge Hub main category under K2 is listed under here. I'm not really sure what else to say on this one. It was.
So now I'll show them all the bits that.
Yeah, after I built this, I played with it with the client for about a year, and then last year had no time to develop anymore, so I handed it over to Patrick. So just play with it since.
Which was a nice thing to do, as the initial brief was just pretty simple maintenance. They don't want much done. Thanks, Tim. But as all clients do with scope creep, they've then asked for very particular things to be done. So we've actually made a few changes to the layout and some of the features. And so there's extra tabs in here now. Originally, and with the default layout for K2, all the extra fields are shown in a single list. Thanks to a snippet of code from Norm, you can actually break out the fields and display them in different ways. And so now this layout uses extra fields for the project info, but then also uses extra fields to show an extra tab for the copyright notice, decide whether the reports are going to be shown, and the discussion is using the K2 tabs. So what it's actually got here, this is actually an RS form. It's called using the RS form plugin, but the form requirement was that they wanted to be able to ask questions of the people before they accessed the documents through DocMan. So we could just put the DocMan plugin in, but what we've had to do is put a form in front of that, and so it has to go and look at whether they've answered that form before. Before they can answer the form, they have to log in. So in the RS form, it actually goes and looks at whether they're logged in. If it doesn't, it shows the form, using models anywhere. And then once they've done that part, if they have visited this page before and have answered the fields, it'll take them straight to the reports for that page. So for this project, I haven't filled out the form before, and so it's asking me what those questions are. I can delete the record, but I can't delete the emails that go out. And this particular project had the additional requirement of having an agreement. So there's a re-replacer code used to add a snippet in to display this conditions box. And then once you go in and say access your reports, the next time the form loads, it knows that you're logged in, it can see that you've submitted the various questions, and it won't ask you the questions again, and it'll take you through and you can download the link straight from DocMan. So rather than having to program that in every time, all the staff need to do is put the project number in a particular field, and it will then load the form and pull the project number in using Sorcerer, and then do a whole lot of other things. So Peter's probably going to get ear bashed by me on Monday in the workshop about all that sort of stuff. But I think to get this page now, it actually calls in 15 instances of various plugins and components to load the page and the content. So I probably don't need to tell anyone in the room that Joomla is very clever if you know what you're trying to pull in and you can get it to work. But it certainly makes life easier when you've got the range of extensions that are available.